Great. Thank you so much, TJ. I really super appreciate you getting off to a great start. So I am going to say thank you and welcome to everyone here to our Campus Day panel discussion. Let me share my screen. I've got a little presentation. Just give me just a moment here and we will get everyone rocking and rolling on this presentation. So give me just a second here. And let me share my screen with all of you. And here we go. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to have I'm just trying to fix my swap presenter. There we go. Yeah, we're going to have a very just general discussion tonight about the latest and most popular topics in higher education. And let's go ahead and get started one more time about sharing a quick story. Fresno Area College Night's been around for many years, and one year I had a family come up to the table, and it was mostly mom talking, and she had this big, thick binder. It was like, honestly, it was like 6 inches, had all kinds of brochures, all kinds of information, and she had blank note-taking pages, and she's taking the notes about this discussion I'm having between the two of us and her daughters sitting next to her, or standing next to her. And I kind of like, halfway through the conversation, I say, stop. Are you going to college? She goes, no, she is. And I go, then why isn't she holding the binder? And so right now, I know there's some maybe parents, there's some porters here. What I want you to do, I want you to put the pen down. I want you to stop texting the notes, into your notes on your phone or your tablet. And I want the student to do it. And I think all of the panelists here would agree, we want the student to actually be taking the notes here. So, because there's going to be a lot of great information. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of these people over the years as panelists, but also out in the field, participating in many, many college outreach events. And so we just want to go down the list here. Thank you, Rick, for being here, for representing the CSUs. Thank you, Martha, for being here also from Fresno Pacific. I think Martha is maybe here with us tonight. Iona, thank you. She's here from the University of California system. And Michael Cleveland, thank you so much, my friend, for joining us from our HBCUs, our historically Black colleges, universities. And then we've got a long-time colleague, personal friend of mine, Lisa Vincent from the community college. Thank you, Lisa. And joining us here, we're trying to get her connected, is Athena from Reedley College. And Athena is going to speak a little bit more about the historically Black college university transfer agreement guarantee that the California community college system has, with our HBCUs. I'll be honest with you. This is a really informal discussion, but we want you to ask questions. So I've got a bunch of pre-selected questions. They're very general, broad college discussion questions for discussion. But also, if you're an attendee of this event, I want you to put in questions into the Q&A. TJ here is going to keep an eye on that and then jump in when maybe there's an upvote on a question that everyone's like, yeah, that's a great question. I want to hear more about it. What I'm going to do as your moderator is I'm just going to ask these questions. I'll be calling on our panelists to maybe get us started in that discussion. I'll be kind of moving us along. We do have about 45 minutes. We're going to have to cut it a little short, because we got a little bit of a late start to it. And just really quick, everyone, attendees, the answers that we give you, they're not perfect, but they serve a purpose. And I think a lot of times people want to hear the perfect answer. It's not always perfect. It's really just to give you something. And I always say something is better than no thing. So it's just to kind of get you started. And you know what? After this session, it's early enough. Whatever we talk about here, follow up with that particular college or university at the virtual booths and go from there. So hopefully that will kind of give you a format of our discussion. Again, visit the virtual booths, go to the other breakout sessions so you can learn more. All right, let's get this discussion going. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to open up my questions and go from there. So I got a lot of questions, and one of the questions I've been hearing a lot, and I'm sure all of the recruiters here have been hearing lately, is this. With most college universities closed and on-campus tour options unavailable, what can students do to virtually learn more about places of higher education? And so what I'm going to do is, Michael, because you're on the East Coast, I think you're on the East Coast, is that correct?
Central.
All right. And so talk about that. Now, students who want to go visit at HBCU in the South or on the East Coast, and tours are not happening, what are some great ways for them to get connected with your campuses and start building that relationship?
I think one of the caveats that HBCUs have taken within the last couple months has been beefing up their social media presence. So now we have rolled out at several different schools the ability to do virtual tours. You know, you can easily type in right now Tuskegee University. They'll have a virtual tour where they'll show you the different buildings. They'll show you the campuses on YouTube. They have students giving spotlight stories. You go to my alma mater, Tougaloo College, and we're doing the exact same thing on YouTube. But we're also setting up specialized those virtual tours with the campus recruiters where you can go out, they can show you right on FaceTime what we all have going on. So that's one of the ways we've kind of flipped to, you know, adjust to the pandemic.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Now, a friend of mine that just joined us here, Athena Gibbs. Athena, thank you so much for being here and talking about our HBCUs. You know, we get community college students who want to take advantage of this this California Community College Transfer Agreement Guarantee to some of our HBCU colleges and universities. And they've already got a little bit of the college experience, maybe being in person, taking some in-person classes. You know, all of our campuses are offering them. When you're help, well, one, talk about your program a little bit, and two, what are some things that are ways that students can get connected to the HBCUs that we have these transfer agreement guarantees with, and maybe kind of go in a little bit more depth about what Michael just shared about the HBCUs.
Hello, everybody. So HBCU alum here as well. And out here in California. We have, as a community college, we have this wonderful thing, our guaranteed transfer, HBCU guaranteed transfer agreement to the 39 HBCUs. And so through the chancellor's office, they actually do a ton of workshops, and I'm happy to put that website in, a ton of workshops to connect students to the HBCUs right now. So there'll be panels, there'll be discussions broken up by major, really to keep that connection going. Of course, when hopefully we'll go back to having college tours and in-person things soon enough, like Fresno City would do a HBCU tour every year. So hoping that at some point we'll be able to get back to that. But right now there's a lot going on virtually through the chancellor's office to keep students connected.
Awesome. Thank you, Athena. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. I know, being a dad of a UC and a CSU student, Iona and Rick, do either one of you want to add about how students can get connected to your campuses, even with no tours happening? Iona, we'll start with you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, so our campus, UC Merced, we're actually one of the few UC campuses that is offering in-person guided tours, of course, with safety measures. So yes, that is an option throughout early summer. We were offering drive-through tours. That way students and families had the opportunity to visit campus within the safety of their vehicle. But now we are offering in-person tours. And if you are not up for that, we do offer a lot of virtual opportunities, not just tours, but also live virtual tours. You can actually schedule a virtual tour with some of our tour guides, and they will walk you through with our virtual tour platform. And just on a system-wide level with the University of California, we are hosting big virtual events in the fall as a way for you all to get to know us, because we know that there's only so many places you can go to and so many opportunities. And our campus specifically, we are hosting every week virtual workshops for you to learn more about UC Merced and the application. So myself, I will be going a step-by-step overview of the UC application and offering one-on-one advising sessions.
Awesome. Thank you, Iona. Rick, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, we are also conducting on-campus tours. So at 9, 11, and 1, just go to our website and you could book one actually. Virtually, we do have a flyover. We do have videos on our tour guides actually giving the tour on our website. But we also have, if you may not like all the pops and whistles, we have actually a 43-minute walking tour on YouTube. So just no commentary. You could just walk right through the campus and see what's going on.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow. I did not know that. That's great. Walking tour on YouTube. So as you can see, there are many different ways to get connected with our campuses. Lisa, do you want to, as a community college representative, you want to add anything to that?
Sure. I just want to say, boy, that walking tour on virtual is probably less rigorous than if I was actually in person. I kind of like that. In terms of Fresno City College, we aren't offering on-site tours right now. It's in the works, but we do have a lot of other avenues where we touch students. One of them is that we actually are going out to high schools as we speak and assisting students with the steps to enrolling, which right now is the application workshop. So we're offering in person and on Zoom those workshops, which that's the first step to becoming a student. We have a YouTube channel, we have social media, access to information. We have something called RAM Ready, which we do at the beginning of each semester for new students. And it was virtual and in person this year. But if you're interested in Fresno City becoming a student, you can go on our website. You can just search RAM Ready, because we're the Rams, by the way. And that will give you many, many different options to learn about our campus, touring the campus, lots of different instructions about becoming a student and what the steps are. And so those are just different ways. And you can always just call our office and we will meet with you any way that you feel comfortable. Some of us are on campus, some of us are not. So whatever you feel most comfortable with right now, we'd be happy to accommodate you.
Awesome. Thank you. And, talking about not being on campus, I know some of us, like myself, if I were to take my blurred background off, my kid is actually packing up and going back to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo tomorrow. And so she's taking over dad's room here, laying out all her stuff. And so as we all are working remotely, and sometimes students are meeting us virtually. What can students do to make the most of a virtual online meeting with a college recruiter or a college counselor? What can they do? Maybe talk about appearance or speech. Let's open that up. Why don't you go ahead and get us started, Rick, on this one?
Well, first of all, I think that if you're not sure what to do, make the appointment anyway and show up to your appointment, okay? Because many times you don't know what's out there and you don't know how to prepare yourself. But one thing you should do is make sure you take notes, make sure you take screenshots. I tend to have a PowerPoint for every meeting. So I just how do you say it? Screenshot. Okay. Take a screenshot of it, put it on the PowerPoint, and that's very helpful for me. I also think that if you're not sure what you want to do, any of these counselors here will tell you that's okay. I'll give you, I studied at Fresno State, I studied speleology. I had no idea what that was until my junior year. And I love speleology, and I keep on saying that word because not many people know what it means. It means the study of caves. I had no idea you could do that. So sometimes you would have to meet with the counselor and you have to experience education to figure out what you need to do. So just be prepared, and please don't be intimidated by the counselors or the session. We're here to help. Every one of these counselors in this webinar have changed lives. In fact, we're not counselors, we're life changers, I think, in the sense, because not that we do your work for you, not that we hold your hand, but we explain the process and empower you with knowledge. And the other part is we might not have all the answers, as David said. So your job would be after the session is to explore. And 3 words: explore, explore, explore. Thank you, David.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. Anyone want to add to that? Any of the panelists here want to jump in and expand on that? All right, very good. What we'll do is oh, go ahead, Iona.
Yeah, just want to quickly expand just to Rick's point. Don't ever hesitate to ask, and just do your research early on. There's never too early time to do research, especially like tonight, where all of our campuses have a virtual booth for you to explore more. And I always like to share with students, we're called admissions officers for a reason. So don't ever feel intimidated or scared to reach out. We're not called rejection officers. We're finding ways to admit you and to say, yes, come to our university. So that's why we're called admissions officers, not denial or rejection officers.
That's a really good point. That's that was a great explanation. Anyone else want to add to that? Anyone? All right, well, I'm going to move on to the next question here. And talking about being admissions officers, what are higher education institutions doing to adjust and pivot with college admissions? What ways has college admissions process changed, and how can students prepare and respond to those changes? I just learned today that for a lot of colleges and universities, there is, and they really mean it, optional submission of SAT, ACT scores. So let's start with Michael. Michael, you want to talk to us a little bit about that? Is your institution participating in that, or what have you heard about, what is your institution doing to kind of pivot during these times?
So, one of the things that I help out so much with students nationwide when it comes to HBCUs is I hear a lot of different things going on around the campuses. So one thing that, my school, Tougaloo College outside of Jackson, Mississippi, has done is they have sort of waived the test as admission rate. We just want the major thing is to have graduated, to have a proper, GPA to get in. One thing I like to say about HBCUs is we like to take diamonds. Diamonds in the rough, shine them up, polish them up, and make them everything they need to be. We are known for taking chances on students that others would have thrown away. We welcome them in, we bring them up next. One thing that has impacted HBCUs nationwide has been, whether or not they're going to do ACT or the SAT, and a lot of them have decided for this year that they're going to forego it. The main thing is to make sure the students are in a proper headspace to even take this next adventure into going into college, and whatever they can do to bring them into the fold, they're doing whatever they can.
That's awesome. Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in? Athena, I know that knowing you for a while, you have taught some of our kind of our student success courses there. Students learning to be a really good advocate for themselves. How do you see this kind of admissions process? What can students do to pivot for college admissions?
I think the big piece in regards to from the community college end, and especially with HBCUs, the great thing with them is with our CSUs and UCs, our deadlines tend to be earlier for California schools, whereas our HBCU schools, that's another option for them. And I do want students to know that. And those deadlines tend to be a little bit later. So at this point, they know what's going on in regards to the statewide and if they're willing to go out of state. But really, I think just getting out there and finding out more information about what's available. And that's the big piece for us on my end is like letting them know what's available to them and getting that research out there to them, encouraging them to research and talk to us about those options when those options come up.
Great, very good. I always say explore your options. The more options, the better your success. Lisa, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I do. We were talking about the university admissions and then maybe even transferring from a community college. But in terms of admissions in general, the community colleges do not require SATs or ACTs. We don't require a certain GPA. Basically, you follow through with the enrollment steps and you are admitted. And so that has not changed. And in the past, we've worked with high school students and students at your sites to help you complete the admissions process, but we're also doing online Zoom workshops as we speak. So it's all access for community college. So if you're university bound, more power to you. But if you're thinking you want to go to the community college because your career goal requires a short-term certification or an associate's degree, or you want to transfer, then the admissions process is fairly simple. It's just completing an online admissions application. So we are open to students. We are accepting all students. There's no cutoff in terms of how many we accept every year. So if that is your chosen route, then it's pretty simple for us. And so, just wanted to throw that out there.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. I one little thing I'd like to add to that. I graduated from high school with a 1.76 GPA. And that shocks a lot of people. Like, what? David graduated from 1.76 GPA? Yeah. And went to Fresno City College and then eventually got my act together and transferred to Fresno State. So, it's easy for someone like me, but also easy for someone who's doesn't want that admissions pressure to go to the community college and do like the honors program that all of our campuses offer there as well. Iona, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add for the University of California system in regards to the SAT and ACT exams, we are not utilizing those exams in your admissions review process through the fall 2024 application cycle, meaning if you choose to self-report the exams in the UC application, our admissions readers will not have access to those exams when reviewing your application. So know that exams are not used for your admissions decision. They will only be used for course placement or if used to meet one of the subject requirements. That's just some of the latest news that has been coming out this past year.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? Rick, did you want to add anything to that?
Similar, very similar to the others with the ACT, SAT scores. We're not utilizing them this year.
Very good. I know having children gone through this and, researching, test dates, test locations for SAT, ACT, that just kind of adds to the enormity of the college search process. So my next question is, and anyone can jump in and answer this, the higher education search requires a significant amount of time, resources, and patience. How can families / supporters / guardians support a student making plans, choices, decisions during a time of great uncertainty? What suggestions can college admissions professionals or admissions officers, Iona, offer to students and their loved ones? And that's kind of a two-part question there. Let's see here. Iona, do you want to get us started?
Thank you. Yes, that's a great question. And Rick touched up upon that a bit earlier, is really just do your research sooner. And I think just you attending this event right now was already a foot in the right direction, because this is an opportunity for you to already meet with all the colleges and also hear more about colleges you may have never heard of. And in terms of the support, as Michael has also mentioned, more universities are available virtually. We are really beefing up all of our social media, really trying to find ways to connect with you. So it's just really just researching, seeing what's out there, attending all of our virtual series. For example, my campus, we're hosting a virtual series all of fall, and a lot of universities will be hosting the same, as well as open houses if it's not in person, virtually. So it's really just, today is a great start, just really seeing what universities are there. I also really think about 3 factors, as I find that's really how you determine which school is the right fit. And fit is a popular term you'll hear throughout your college search process. you're going to want to think about what are you looking to study, where are you looking to study? So where and what, so location, and then lastly, the campus size. So what is your major, what location are you looking at, and the campus size.
Wow, very good. Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that? Michael, you know what? When a student is looking, and Athena, you can jump into this too. We don't have HBCUs here on the West Coast. They're halfway across, if not all the way across the United States. I may want to go to one directly or, take advantage of the transfer agreement. How can families support someone moving across halfway, if not all the way to the United States in this college searching process?
Athena, I'll take a little bit of it and I'll tag team to help out from there. I know a good part of it comes from the alumni that are in the California area. Even though that there aren't a lot of HBCUs, it's just Charles Drew there in California. There are a lot of alumni that are in the area. I came from a small liberal arts HBCU. We had around 900 people, and a good chunk of those actually came from California. I did my master's in Morehouse, and we had a good chunk come from, to go to the HBCUs in Atlanta. So I honestly tell people, look at your tribe that's around you. Look out to the alumni. One thing about HBCUs, the alumni will help you. I was in DC for an internship. I had no food, no clothing. I had clothing, no food, and was looking for a place to stay. They made one call to alumni, and I was taken care of the entire summer. So I know that is a key part of it. And I know the other part is allowing the parents to feel like, hey, if I have this support system in California with the alumni, I know that my kids will have that same support system when they get to the campus. When we hear that there's someone coming from California, we immediately call the Alumni Association and say, hey, special attention to that student. If they need help with travel, if they need help with getting items, we would do everything we can in order to make sure that they're there. And I think that's a special thing that we bring to them. It's all about their tribe and community. And we especially have about those that are first generation. Oh my goodness, if you're first generation, there's an extra special touch that's needed, and we will provide that. Athena, did I leave anything off?
I don't think so. So I'm listening to Michael talk about the alumni chapters. I mean, they're such a great resource for students. I remember going, I went to Florida A&M and I went from the Maryland, DC area, and the chapter there is huge. And they will connect you, like he said, they are there. And we do have chapters here, and we will connect you, folks like me, to connect you to HBCUs, to admission officers, to people that are part of that community if you're interested and want to know more about our community. And I really can't emphasize enough all the work that is coming out of our chancellor's office, because I mean, like, I'm trying to, David, you're going to have to let me know how I can add a document of webinars just for September that talks about financing, education, talks, even for parents of how to transition students to go that far. I know it's a big deal for students to go from California to an HBCU, and I know a lot of our students tend to, our closest is like Texas, besides Charles Drew down in LA. Texas, we tend to have a lot of students go that direction because they have family members there. But again, the community is large, and so reach out to us and we will connect you. But David, let me know how I can put up this webinar series, because there's a lot of great topics that are being covered through our California Community College Chancellor's Office, the HBCU transfer.
Yeah, let me just reach out here to our main host, TJ. TJ, is there a way to post a link into the chat? So
absolutely. If you just in the chat hit change it where it says to everyone, and then all attendees and us will be able to see it.
Okay, great. So there you go, Athena. If you just open up the chat and just do that, you're good to go. I apologize, I've been ignoring the Q&A, so I'm going to take a couple questions out of here. And I'm going to start with the one that was asked earlier, and I think Iona, you got to that one. Someone asked here, may I please have a link to each college website that is here? So for those of you that are here, if you want to put your college's website into the chat, definitely do that right now. And then a question that was asked a few minutes ago, we are finding that school admissions are seeing that standardized tests are optional and lack of score will not count against an applicant. But some scholarships seem to be asking for scores. It's frustrating when students haven't had the ability to prepare for these types of tests, but it may affect scholarship and aid. Anyone want to take a stab at that one?
I can speak to some of the HBCUs that I do know about. Even though in order to get into the institution, you may not require ACT or SAT, there are certain, schools that are, in case you want that full ride, in case you want that partial scholarship, if you're a transfer student, it's some different things under there. They may require it as a step up, but the caveat outside of this, they're providing resources to overcome that. Like, it costs to take the SAT and the SAT. They're providing vouchers and all those different things in order to offset that cost, in order to provide a secure financial, I was a first generation, so I needed the scholarship and it paid off. So that's what we're doing on HBCU end.
And I can speak on the UC end. So UC will not be considering SAT or ACT scores in awarding scholarships. So that has been a recent, since the past admission cycle. So we are not utilizing those scores in awarding scholarships. And know that when you apply to UC, it is also a scholarship application. So before you submit it, you have the opportunity to select as many scholarships that apply to you based on your career interests, your major, and values.
I want to put a little plug in for community college. When I read this question, it's definitely coming from it's got a financial reasoning behind it. And I want to say that by all three Navarro children going to Clovis Community College first and then transferring to a CSU or UC, or had they gone the first 2 or 3 years at the CSU or the UC, we would have actually, as a family, paid $210,000. So in terms of if you're trying to save money, I know some students are looking for a scholarship because they want to go all 4 years, and we can get into a whole discussion about the reason why you should go all 4 years, depending on your major and where you go. Well, that could be in a whole another panel discussion. But if you're looking just to knock out general education, you can't beat the community colleges in terms of, if we're just talking only dollars, that's it, not talking anything else, just dollars. You can't beat it, because I can then do a transfer agreement guarantee to 6 University of California campuses. I can still transfer to do the honors program to increase my transfer rate to UCLA, UC San Diego, and Berkeley. So just something to consider. If finance is the really main driving factor, consider the community college if that's what you want to do. So, and Lisa, I'm sorry, I probably took your thunder out of that question right there. So yeah. Anyone else want to add to that one? We do have about 7 minutes, and I think there is a question here. I like this one here. I have a question regarding housing. What is it looking like in dorms? Are students allowed to stay on campus due to the growing numbers of COVID recently? Ooh, anyone want to tackle that one?
The answer is yes. Okay. What format it takes is going to change per university, and given the numbers in each county, each university is going to have a different system. But the answer is, in fact, my son, he just graduated Fresno State in architectural studies, and he's living in the dorms at University of Hawaii. He's in the doctoral program, and there's 4 beds and there's 4 students in it. So the protocol, and at Fresno State, you have to be vaxxed at a certain date. So the vaccinations are required. And you look at Fresno State as a community, it's 30,000 if you count all the students and faculty and contractors and staff and so forth. So it is a community in itself, but most universities are allowing a housing.
Very good. Anyone else want to take a quick shot at that one, that question there?
I can for my area. Majority of the schools are going back towards the being on campus. We're doing the same stringent things required by the CDC. You know, we're asking that you be vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, we're asking you to get it tested weekly. Dorm rooms will look differently. Instead of 2 people, it may be 1 person. For students that do not feel safe with being on campus, several HBCUs have banded together to where they can offer courses online and it still be the same rate. You know, if you normally would take this and we don't offer it at Tougaloo, but Clark Atlanta offers it, we'll still count it towards your curriculum that way. So it won't be the traditional setup of dorms, but there are ways we're trying to get around it and ensure the safety of the students is top priority.
Very good. Anyone else? Got just 5 more minutes. TJ, is that correct? We have 5 more minutes on our session.
Correct.
All right. Let's just open up. Anyone want to post a question into the Q&A really quick? And I see one here. How can we get scouts to come out to sporting events? And how do we sign up for sports scholarships?
Well, I could answer that. You have to contact the athletic department directly. It's illegal for us to go recruit as in our positions here. You have to, it's NCAA. You have to contact and the coaches, not the coach, but the coaches in each team. For instance, if you're football, you want to contact the head coach, you want to contact the defensive coach, and you want to contact the linebacker coach. So you want to do this regularly. Many of the students have videos, they have their own website and so forth. So prepare yourself, put your portfolio together, and do not give up. We can tell you story after story how a walk-on became a star at our university. So do not give up and contact them and send it until you bother them. Every 2 weeks, you should at least send the same message every 2 weeks to each university coach that you're trying to get their attention.
Anyone else? I did get another question here. How do we get a dorm? Anyone want to answer that?
Yes, I can go on that one. Thank you. And so that process happens after the application process, right? So once you apply, you've been admitted. This is what we call the next steps process, the enrollment process, where you're offered admission and you have to decide if you would like to accept that. And once you choose to commit to a university, that's when many of those moving parts happen, like orientation, class registration, and dorms. And it will really vary at each university how that process goes, but know that it's always after you've applied and been admitted and commit.
I want to just throw in just 20 seconds of a dorm. We visited a dorm at UC Santa Cruz. A parent was asking, where is the restroom? She had a female student. And I said, it's right here. And as I pointed, a male student walked out. She goes, both genders share the same restroom? And I go, yes, they do here at UC Santa Cruz. So students, if that's important to you, something to kind of, keep in mind. The parent was definitely shocked. So you might want to go on a little dorm tour, see if it's the right fit for you.
So David, I just want to put in a plug for Reilly. We do have dorms at Reilly, and we do have sports, and we have students that are staying in our dorms. Our dorms are open, and in fact, we do have a lot of athletes that come from out of area to stay in our dorms because we are unique in that matter. So it is still an option to go to Reilly and stay in a dorm.
Awesome, very good. And let's see here. A very general question here. When do we start applying to colleges and universities? Now.
Yeah, let me pipe up just quickly for community college. If I'm thinking most of you are here because you're in high school, okay? So especially if you're a senior, now is the time to start applying. You don't wait until you graduate in June 4th, okay? And we have a program called Reg to Go in all the high schools in this area. So you need to be aware of the announcements that are going on right now, whether in your classrooms or from a counselor or an email or somehow, where we are doing application workshops on site and or Zoom right now for the community colleges. You need to stay on track to have the early reg date at the end of April. So right now is the application. Starting December 1st is the orientation. Come spring is advising. And then at the end of April is registration. So in order to register early, you have to go through those first 3 steps. So you want to keep on top of that time frame. So right now is the time for community college.
All right, very good. This is the end of our session. We need to wrap up here at 5:45. I can't say thank you enough to all of the panelists here. Every year I learn something from all of you. So thank you so much. This has been great.